He was handsome, charming, and seemingly ordinary. Ted Bundy, with his boyish good looks and disarming smile, could easily blend into any crowd. He was the kind of person who could strike up a conversation with a stranger and leave them feeling like they had made a new friend. His appearance and demeanor were so unassuming that it was hard to believe he was capable of such heinous acts. He could be your friend, your brother, the man next door. Bundy was the epitome of the all-American boy, someone who seemed to have it all together. He was well liked by his peers and respected by his community. His ability to fit in so seamlessly made his true nature all the more terrifying. But beneath the surface of this average American lurked a monster, a predator who preyed on the unsuspecting and the vulnerable. His charm was a mask that hid his true intentions, a facade that allowed him to get close to his victims without raising suspicion. Ted Bundy, with his boyish good looks and disarming smile, was a predator who shattered the illusion of safety and left a trail of terror and heartbreak across the United States in the 1970s. His crimes were not just acts of violence but calculated moves designed to instill fear and exert control. He was a master manipulator who knew how to exploit the trust and kindness of others for his own sinister purposes. Bundy's case was shocking not just for the brutality of his crimes but also because he defied the stereotypes of a serial killer. He didn't fit the profile of a deranged madman lurking in the shadows. Instead, he was a clean-cut, educated man who could have been anyone's neighbor or colleague. This made his actions all the more incomprehensible and horrifying. He was educated, articulate, and knew how to blend in. Bundy had a promising future ahead of him with a background in psychology and law. He was even involved in politics, working on campaigns and making connections with influential people. His intelligence and ambition made it seem like he was destined for success, not infamy. He used his charisma like a weapon, luring unsuspecting women to their deaths with carefully crafted facades of vulnerability and charm. He would often feign injury or distress to gain their sympathy and trust, only to reveal his true nature when it was too late for them to escape. His ability to manipulate and deceive was unparalleled, making him one of the most dangerous criminals of his time. His ability to appear normal, even trustworthy, made his crimes even more chilling. It was this duality, the stark contrast between his outward appearance and his inner darkness, that left a lasting impact on those who encountered him. Ted Bundy was not just a killer, he was a living nightmare, a reminder that evil can wear a friendly face. Theodore Robert Bundy's life began shrouded in secrecy and shame. Born on November 24, 1946, in a home for unwed mothers in Burlington, Vermont, his very existence was a source of embarrassment for his family. His mother, Eleanor Louise Cowell, was just 22 years old and unmarried, a significant social stigma at the time. To avoid the shame associated with being an unwed mother, she gave birth to Ted in secret. Ted spent the first few years of his life believing that his grandparents, Samuel and Eleanor Cowell, were his parents, and that his mother was his older sister. This complex web of deception was meant to protect the family's reputation, but had lasting effects on Ted's psyche. The psychological impact of this early deception cannot be overstated. Ted's mother eventually moved with him to Tacoma, Washington, where she married Johnny Bundy, who formally adopted Ted. However, the damage had already been done. In Washington state, Ted's troubled childhood continued. He struggled to fit in and often felt like an outsider. His relationship with his stepfather was strained, and he never fully accepted Johnny Bundy as his father. Described as a quiet, introverted child, Ted found it difficult to connect with his peers. He was often bullied and ostracized, which only deepened his sense of isolation and resentment. Some reports suggest that even at a young age, Ted exhibited disturbing behavior. He was known to have a fascination with knives and would sometimes place them around his sleeping aunt, a chilling hint of the darkness that would later consume him. As he grew older, his relationships with women were fraught with difficulties. A painful breakup with a college girlfriend left him devastated and may have further fueled his rage and misogyny. This troubled beginning set the stage for the horrific acts that would later define his life. Bundy's crimes began in the Pacific Northwest in the early 1970s. His victims, mostly young women with long dark hair parted down the middle, bore a striking resemblance to his college sweetheart. This pattern, coupled with his method of approach, revealed a chilling modus operandi. Bundy often used ruses to disarm his victims. He would feign injury, needing help with his car, or impersonate an authority figure. His charm and seeming vulnerability lowered their guard, making them more susceptible to his advances. Once he had their trust, He would overpower them, often taking them to secluded areas where he could unleash his brutality. As Bundy's reign of terror continued, panic gripped the Pacific Northwest. The once peaceful and serene region was now overshadowed by fear and uncertainty. Communities that had thrived on trust and neighborly bonds were now shrouded in suspicion and dread. The name Ted Bundy became synonymous with terror, and his presence was felt even in the most mundane aspects of daily life. Young women lived in fear, afraid to go out alone or trust strangers. The sense of vulnerability was palpable, and the streets that were once bustling with life became eerily quiet as night fell. Parents warned their daughters, and friends made pacts to never leave each other's side. The fear was not just of the unknown, but of the very real possibility that they could be next. The growing body count and the shocking brutality of the crimes, often involving sexual assault, torture, and mutilation, intensified the pressure on law enforcement to catch the elusive killer. Each new discovery added to the horror, and the media coverage only fueled the public's anxiety. The police were inundated with tips and leads, but the sheer volume of information made it difficult to separate fact from fiction. Despite his meticulous planning, Bundy made mistakes. His overconfidence and need to control every aspect of his crimes led to small but significant errors. These mistakes, though seemingly minor, provided crucial clues for the investigators. The police began to piece together a profile of the killer, and the net slowly started to close in on Bundy. Witnesses came forward with descriptions of a man calling himself Ted, who drove a Volkswagen Beetle. These accounts were eerily consistent, painting a picture of a charming yet sinister individual. The descriptions were detailed enough to create a composite sketch, which was then circulated widely. The public was urged to be vigilant and report any sightings of the suspect. A composite sketch was released, and Bundy's name began to surface in connection with the disappearances. The sketch, combined with the mounting evidence, made it increasingly difficult for Bundy to remain in the shadows. His once anonymous existence was now under intense scrutiny, and the walls were closing in. However, his clean-cut image and lack of a serious criminal record made it difficult for authorities to believe he could be responsible for such horrific acts. Bundy's ability to blend in and appear trustworthy was his greatest weapon. He exploited the very fabric of society's trust, using his charm and intelligence to mask his true nature. This duality made him one of the most dangerous predators of his time. In a brazen move that showcased his audacity and belief in his own invincibility, Bundy moved to Utah in 1974 to attend law school. He continued his killing spree there, seemingly undeterred by the ongoing manhunt in Washington. His arrogance and belief that he was smarter than the police fueled his recklessness. Bundy's luck, however, was about to run out. In August 1975, he was pulled over for a driving violation. The routine traffic stop quickly escalated when police found suspicious items in his car, including handcuffs, a crowbar, and a ski mask. Bundy was arrested, but his ability to blend in and manipulate those around him was far from over. Florida, Reign of Terror. While awaiting trial in Colorado for kidnapping charges, Bundy managed to escape from custody not once, but twice. His escapes, marked by cunning and daring, only served to solidify his image as a criminal mastermind in the public eye. After his second escape, Bundy made his way to Tallahassee, Florida, where he embarked on a final, frenzied rampage. In January 1978, he broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University, brutally attacking 4 young women, killing 2 of them. This horrific crime, committed with a brutality that shocked even seasoned investigators, finally exposed the true depths of Bundy's depravity. Justice, delayed but delivered. Bundy's capture in February 1978, following a string of petty burglaries, brought an end to his reign of terror. The trial that followed, one of the first to be televised nationally, captivated the nation. Bundy, acting as his own attorney, used his charisma and intelligence to manipulate the legal system and control the narrative. Despite his attempts to charm the jury and deflect blame, the evidence against Bundy was overwhelming. He was found guilty on multiple counts of murder and sentenced to death. The image of Bundy, once so self-assured and in control, finally crumbled as the reality of his situation sank in. The Bundy legacy. Ted Bundy's execution in 1989 marked the end of his life but not his story. His case continues to fascinate and horrify, serving as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of seemingly ordinary individuals. Bundy's crimes had a profound impact on criminal profiling and law enforcement techniques. His ability to disarm victims with his charm challenged the traditional image of a serial killer, forcing investigators to develop new methods for identifying and apprehending these cunning predators. Echoes of evil. The legacy of Ted Bundy extends beyond law enforcement. His case sparked a national conversation about violence against women, the dangers of stranger abduction, and the importance of personal safety. It also highlighted the limitations of relying solely on outward appearances to assess character and trustworthiness. Even decades after his death, Ted Bundy remains a chilling reminder that evil can wear many faces. His story serves as a cautionary tale, urging us to remain vigilant, to trust our instincts, and to never underestimate the capacity for darkness that can reside within the human heart.